need to do that on Instagram as well. Looks like we're live on everywhere but Instagram. Instagram lags a little. So here we go. All right. Instagram's going as well. All right. We got people popping in.
I'm trying to share it with some people as well.
What's that?
I'm trying to share it with some people as well to lure more people in.
Very good. Well, today Kayla is moving to a new house, so we are having to do this without her running the show, which makes it a lot harder. Hey, Autumn Leaves.
So we're just fine without a net here. Working without a net.
No pilot. Hey, Jam Exotics. Looks like we got some coming in on Instagram as well. Down the Hole Exotics and Genetics 101. Hey, hey. Good. So, Andy, you want to tell people where you're streaming in from?
Yeah, I'm Andy, Saltarian Serpentines from Germany, actually. I'm a biologist, PhD in biochemistry, and yeah, but not any longer working in that field because I needed money. So yeah,
it's tough sometimes, and it seems this last little bit's been even more complicated to get funding for scientific stuff. So you're probably extra glad that it seems like over time it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same in Germany, but it seems like that here.
Yeah, I think here it might be even harder because you can't get like long-term contracts. Usually it's maybe 2 years or so, and then you have to see where else in the world you have to move to.
Yeah. Good. And Troy, are you still working on your stuff, or are you done?
Probably like 90 seconds here. I'm getting ready to spin it all and be done, but yeah, I'm definitely listening in, and
Troy's still on the job, so
just literally almost done. Bear with me one second.
John says, "What's up, Troy?"
Hey, John, what's going on, man?
Troy's finishing up work.
Yeah. John hooked me up with some ASFs and some rats last week. Kind of help bolster some of my bloodlines in my rodent population and colonies. So it's always good to refresh some bloodlines and keep things going and not have to worry about any genetic anomalies in that way. So
good. Andy Genetics 101 says Andy is my German Cuban brother.
Yeah, it's true. I'm half Cuban. Some people in the US already know because I've been on some live streams and so on already.
Very good. Well, you don't have much of a Cuban accent that I can hear.
No, it's Cuban. Where you can only have one accent, right?
That's right. Well, as people are coming in, first of all, without Kayla being here, we're open to whatever you all want to. Any questions you all have, fire away, and I'll try to bounce back and forth between the two different chat screens. Instagram is by itself, and then YouTube and Facebook is lumped together. And we keep every single week we do this. We're like, please integrate Instagram so we can everything in one column. But I'll bounce back and forth. But while people are coming in, Andy, why don't you tell a little bit about, when did you first get interested in reptiles? When did you start keeping? When did that kind of keeping switch to breeding, or were you breeding from the beginning? Kind of some of that story.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story. Like the start is the same as for most people, I think. Like when I was young, I grew up in a village, so very close to nature, and I always like to look at everything, almost always like a scientist already. Yeah, like even the ants crawling around there. I like to look at everything, investigate everything, have the animals. Also had some pets, but no reptiles because my mother hates them.
Yeah.
um,
I had that problem as well. Well, my mom didn't hate them, but she wasn't excited about them.
Yeah, but when I found something like a lizard or so, then I try to, let's say, investigate it as close as possible. So that interest had also transferred to like how I was in school. I liked biology the most. I was pretty good in that, and so I decided to study that as well. And when I moved away to study that, I had to kind of stop like keeping animals. It was not possible as a student.
Yeah.
That
Unless you can hide them under your bed or something.
Yeah, and you don't have much money and you don't have much space, so yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then the biology was my subject, and I, let's say, rediscovered the law for actually keeping animals pretty late. That when I did a postdoc in Czech Republic, during the COVID situation, I was like, okay, I feel a bit like lonely. Let's check out YouTube and stuff. And there I discovered, like on accident more or less, that people in the world are keeping large collections of reptiles. And then I discovered the ball pythons, and I saw, oh, they're very pretty, and people are breeding them. I didn't even know that that's a thing. Yeah. And then I saw that there are like ways to like make different combinations of them and stuff. And then I, let's say, developed the wish to at least have one. With already like the intention that I might breed them in the future, but I just wanted to see if I actually like to keep them. So I got a clown male. That was my pet for some time, like a year or so. And after that, I knew, okay, yeah, I actually like them. I want to keep them, and I want to try breeding them. And then like a year later or so, I bought like 10 more. And from there, it like just snowballed. Yeah, like start with 1 or 2, and then next year you have 20, and then you have 50, and so on.
Yeah, they can definitely add up fast. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially with the ball pythons, when you want to have the different genetics and actually have a breeding project and stuff, that can escalate pretty quickly.
Yeah. How quickly did that go for you, Troy? How quickly did you go from 1 to 20, let's say?
1 to 20 wasn't too awful fast, because when I started, I was paying a lot of money in child support every month, so I really couldn't afford a whole lot. But the obsession really started for me after finding, guys like Brian Barczyk and, on YouTube, and then some other amazing channels like Gavin at Balls to You or Billy at Mutation Creation. After finding those guys, and just seeing what is out there, like, oh my God, look at the colors on that thing. Look at it. Wow. And then my son, who was really young at the time, he was like 8 or 9, and we went to Tinley Park. Hopped in that half-hour drive to Chicago, so we went on up to Tinley Park and just walked around and just jaw-dropping snakes everywhere. Just oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
And then we got to talking to a few of the breeders up there, and several of the guys were super, super nice. And 2 guys that I kind of already knew their names, when I talked to them, they were just so nice and so inviting and answering questions. And it was Garrick DeMeyer, Royal Constrictor Designs, and Ozzy from Ozzy Boys. And that might have been actually the last or one of the last Tinleys he had. I think it was second to last Tinley he vended. And just the fact that they were willing to stand there and talk to us and answer questions, and yeah, I was hooked. So then it was a matter of, when I did have money and go into the show to purchase stuff, it was like, it's so easy to get what I call morph drunk, I've heard like Steven at Leviathan, he uses that term now too, especially for a lot of new ball python vendors where you just want it all. Like you're like, oh my God, I want that. Oh, I don't have that. That's cool. Let me get that. And then you go down, you know, that rabbit hole where you just want to have it all instead of having a breeding plan, which is the mistake most people make. They either A, buy way too many males in the beginning and not females, or B, they just want all the morphs they can get, thinking that that's going to be a good idea, and it's not. You know, you just want, you know,
especially if they're all males.
Yeah, or you spend, or you got $10,000 to spend, and then you buy 14 males and 2 females. You know what I mean? Because that's what, you know, you could get all those genes in the boys, when honestly you would have been better off spending that entire money on one amazing female and then one power packed male, you know. So
yeah, but when you're new, like the breeders, some breeders try to sell you as many males as possible, that they give them away to you for cheap, and then you, oh, it's so cheap, yeah, I will take them, and then they are
it's
happy.
so funny.
But then the problem is, well, then the problem is you have a bunch of males you don't need, and you still have to feed them.
Yeah.
So that, and then, you know, that's just even more work that just piles on and piles on, more tubs to clean, more animals to feed. And I think that's a lot of the mistakes a lot of breeders make in the beginning. And I made them all. So about 3 years in, I did a reset and I sold 90% of my collection and basically started over. So yeah, just trying to do it the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. Church's Pythons on IG says, yeah, I started in 2020. Definitely had too many males to females. Was a learning curve for sure. Down the whole exotics, they said they're just working on learning right now and deciding on a first snake to get. And they said their plan is to have 4 gene male pairing to 2 females that can go 2 different directions. So maybe this is a good thing to have you both. If you were brand new again, like down the whole exotics, what would be your suggestion as a good first couple of animals to purchase?
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, it depends on many factors, right? Like, what's your budget? Like, what do you like? You always should consider, like, how much space. How do you want to start? Like how many animals? Just one project? I mean, I would recommend just one project for the start. Actually, if you haven't kept ball pythons or any snakes or so at all, then I would just say just buy some, like a couple, like 1.2 or so, that is cheap, just to try it out. Or maybe just like me, that you first buy just one as a pet and you see if you actually can handle that. Yeah. But if you want to go straight into breeding, then just buy 1.2. I don't know, maybe some cheap head animals to see how it works. Yeah, I wouldn't dare to buy, like, I don't know, 5K animals for my first animals, and then if I do something wrong and I don't know, one of them dies or whatever, then it's a big loss, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Especially in the beginning, it all depends on everybody's budget, wherever you're at. I would recommend getting, in the very beginning, just stick with females for the first year or so, unless you're buying adults. So unless you're going to buy adults. And I would recommend whatever, like recessive genetics or anything like that you might want to work with, you know, maybe buy an ultramel het clown or sunset or whatever it is you want to work with. And then, you know, and then get a puzzle with another complementary like ultramel or clown or whatever. Get a few of those females and start growing them up. And then, because you can get those fairly inexpensively too, you know, if you're just buying hets. I'm not talking about going and buying the visuals and all that. Then you can get them kind of a little bit less money. And then about a year later, now you should be confident within a year that you got your temps right, you know how to take care of the animals, they're thriving, they're growing, you know what it takes to clean them, and then go get you a powerhouse male to put to all of them.
Yeah.
If you can afford a backup male, great. But in the beginning, when you're starting, get a powerhouse male that is either a visual of one of the same genetics or even a double visual, and you can put him to those other girls, and then you can start holding back the real banger females that you can make out of there too. Sell your byproduct off with other money you make from that, buy that next level animal, and then grow from there. Definitely try to avoid going into debt as much as possible, because that's another big mistake a lot of people make. They go into debt, then they realize how expensive rodents can be, and caring for them and buying rodents when they grow too quick, too many animals, and then they don't have enough money to take care of anything because they blew all their money on the animals, and now they can't take care of them. So there's a lot of those factors as well. But I would say start with less expensive females that can make amazing snakes, and then buy just a banger of a male that can go to multiple animals. So Hey, Terrence, what's going on, man? That's my guy right there. I love Terrence. Him and his wife are just amazing, wonderful people. So
yeah, he's got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I love that. That's
their
my
whole crew, part. Like their whole crew,
full of energy and excitement.
Yeah, with constrictors. I mean, that whole crew, like they are just the nicest, most wonderful people that you'll ever want to meet.
Oh yes. I had a lot of fun. I went on this last Friday for their Hair Down Friday. Was it this last one?
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we were on there for a long time. That's crazy how long people are on there talking.
Yeah.
But I guess for Germany, if we're on to like 4 a.m. here, that's almost backed around to when you're waking up, I guess.
But you know what? I was on there a couple of times already, but for that I have to actually wake up at like 2 a.m. for my time. And then, so I have to take a nap before to survive that. Then I stay there for, I don't know, maybe 2 hours or so, and until I get tired again, and then go back to sleep. But so yeah, it's nothing that I want to do like every week, because the next day I always feel like I was partying.
Yeah,
because I didn't really sleep. But
been on a few times.
That's fun.
Let's see. Yeah. So down the whole exotics, I had that question. It says the male I have my eye on is a visual to get with 2 codoms, and his price is phenomenal. Is that not a good idea? Correct. That is not a good idea. So we'll tell you, and I think both of Andy and Troy will agree with me. You don't even want to think about males right now. That, just like Troy was saying a minute ago. If you're thinking of starting your project with 1.2, 1 boy, 2 girls, yeah, definitely get the girls first. And then like what Andy was saying, keep them for 6 months and see how that goes. If you just love them even more, then get some size to them, unless you can buy them already as, sub-adults or adults. But I would seriously wait till you have at least 2 females already over 1,500 grams before you even think about a male. Because first of all, if things go bad and you don't want them anymore, females are way easier to sell. Secondly, if you decide, hey, maybe I want to go a different way, you can trade a female much easier than you can trade a male. Thirdly, whatever you think is a good idea right now for a male, I promise you, by the time those females are ready to go, you will have changed your mind like 7 times. So that's how it goes. So yeah, you want to wait. Get your females first. And I think that's probably the most common mistake new people make is they get a male way before. I hatched my first ones out in 2003. And I can tell you all of those years, whenever I keep a female back, I just hatched her out and like, oh, she's so awesome, I'm going to keep her back. I'll think about, during those couple of years she's growing up, I will have thought of at least 7 different males I want to put her to. And by the time she's actually ready, it's usually a male I didn't even know I was going to have when she was born. So that's
absolutely. It's crazy when you do get a female, even if you have a plan for her, by the time, if you buy her as a hatchling, that plan might change 4 or 5 times by the time she's ready to go. The male that ends up going to her could be on a completely different direction than what you originally intended for. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. The only thing I would add to is don't chase fads. So if you're going to buy hatchlings to chase a fad, by the time that your hatchlings are of size, that fad's going to be over. You know, those, you know, just make sure that you're breeding animals that you like.
Yeah.
Breed what you like. Breed, you know, if you like darker genes, well, then buy darker genes. Work with the darker genes. There's plenty of people out there that love that. You like the lighter, colorful genes, well, then do that. You love clown, well, then do that. You don't, you know, but if you like hate clown, well, don't do clown. Do puzzle or sunset or ultramel or something else along those lines. It's crazy nowadays. There's so many recessives. Like right now, I sell a lot more banana combos for a way more money than like clowns, especially single or double gene clowns that don't have, you know, something phenomenal in them. I sell a lot more amazing banana combos for substantially more money right now.
Interesting.
But and the thing is like, and I've just built, like, matter of fact, I was talking about that first Tinley Park I ever went to. I went to Ben Rennick's table and he had the very first campfires on the table. And he wasn't telling anybody what they were unless you bought them, what genetics. I just knew they were amazing. So I started down that path and I've been working that project for many, many, many years. And it has evolved into what it is now, with all the way up to the Eternal Flames. And we're still, you know, playing with different genes to put in it. And they're just phenomenal. I absolutely love them. No, there's not a single recessive in any of them. And they sell great. And, you know, but it's snakes that I love. And every time I hatch them, I just, you know, like, wow. So, you know, you're the one that has to go in there and clean those animals. So definitely work with what you're passionate about. Because if you don't love opening that tub, then you're going to open it less and less, and then you're going to neglect the animal, and nobody wants to see that happen.
Yeah.
So
they all make the same amount of poop.
That's
right. That's actually not just a thing for beginners, right? Like many people, they just watch some YouTubers and then they try to just replicate what they saw in the videos. Yeah, so that's not just for beginners. So yeah, I agree. Yes, that you should try to. Maybe you can have like two. If you are on that level that you have at least two projects, you can make maybe one that the market wants, and then one that is really like something weird and more your passion. Yeah, but if you just copy everything that you see on YouTube, I don't know.
Right.
It's like also value wise. Yeah, it's what you said, when you buy those as hatchlings, and because it's the hype, then those will be mass produced in 2 to 3 years, and they will lose value the most. Yeah, so maybe if you buy something for, let's just say 3K, or the hype stuff, they're the most expensive, maybe 10K, and then once they're ready to breed, if you are lucky, they're still worth 2K. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, so even that being said, on projects like that, especially if it's something new, so even if you bought a snake for $5,000, and by the time you make them, if they're still $2,000, that's a win, because you're still going to make your investment back many times over on that animal right in your first clutch. And to me, that is a good investment animal. When you, out of the very first clutch, can make your money back, or even double or triple your money back in one clutch, then you're golden. That's a great animal to purchase.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and that's another issue that a lot of people who came in during COVID had, were prices were at their all-time high. And not only were they not just half, some of those genetics dropped by 70-80%. And so, you know, a lot of people really got a lot of trouble buying a lot of high dollar animals, where now you can pick up that same animal for pennies on the dollar. It's unbelievable. And now with auctions too, I will say this, for anybody new who's listening right now is the best time to get in this hobby than ever. Animals are affordable. there's still people kind of getting out. Don't let that scare you. It's the people that are getting out. Number one, life happens. You never know. There's people, you know, financial things happen to people, or divorce or medical issues. There's a million reasons people get out, but I would say the primary is because they did not invest wisely. So with people getting out, and I mean, that I would say don't even really pay attention to a whole lot of that. It's a matter of, you know, another thing too is people talk about how the market's down. The market's only down on some projects. Like we just last weekend did Columbia Repticon here in South Carolina and had one of the best shows we've had in a year and a half. Like
That's
we
awesome.
sold a ton of animals. We sold some high-end animals. Dallas NARBC was an amazing show, packed. And that place had been kind of a ghost town for a couple of shows. So I think things are really kind of already starting to bounce back. But sales, at least for us, have been fantastic lately.
I love hearing that.
But yeah, definitely work with things you love. So when you're producing animals, like that's another thing I would tell people. Never make a pairing if you're going to make that pairing and there's nothing in there for you. Like if you're going to make a pairing, and I'm talking about in the beginning, because obviously when you get to a level when you're doing a ton of shows, we do intentionally make pairings just for show animals that we're not going to keep anything. But in the beginning, if you really want to advance your collection, always make sure you're going for animals that you want to keep, and then you sell your byproduct. Somebody in here said it, you know, be your own customer. There you go. RT Royals. I could not agree more. Be your own best customer. So, I see my friends, the Harbins, are in there.
Yeah.
I learned they are amazing. People love them. They do a ton of shows as well. So and that's another thing too, to have your, you know, Morph Market. I love Morph Market. It's a great tool. Love it. But to pricing, show pricing and Morph Market pricing are entirely different things. And the auctions are entirely different animal as well. But yeah, I think the real pulse of the hobby is at shows more than anywhere. But not saying that Morph Market isn't a great tool, because it is. Absolutely love Morph Market. So yeah, definitely. I remember before Morph Market, really the marketplace I entered into was the kingsnake.com and fauna classifieds, because Morph Market didn't exist. Yes. But I remember the first time I saw it. There's a few times in your life where there's something you use all the time and something new comes out and you're like, okay, clearly this is a no-brainer. This is way better than anything we've ever had access to. And just the ability to sort and search, and just like all the different new, you know, things that Morph Market brought, that kingsnake.com was awesome in its time. And I had lots of good conversations on there for years. But yeah, once Morph Market popped up, as soon as I was aware of it, I joined, and it's great. But yeah, it's so different. Not only the animals, or, you know, not only like seeing the animals in person and then interacting with people. There's just so many different reasons why shows are so helpful, especially when you're early on. It gives you an opportunity to meet, just like you were saying, Troy, talking with Garrick and with Ozzy. Like it makes the excitement that you already have for the animals, it makes it, you know, 10 times or 100 times bigger. You're like, you know, you're talking to people that have been doing this for, you know, some instances, decades, or like in Garrick's case, he's produced probably tens of thousands of animals, if not. Yeah, not just ball pythons too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, not just ball pythons. Yeah, it's just such a cool, like, you definitely feed, just like we were talking about Terrence earlier, that excitement he has when you're at a show with people like that. You know, that excitement definitely, you know, is a huge thing. How is it in Germany, Andy? How are shows there? And do you vend or do you attend shows?
So we don't have that many shows like in the US, and The opposite is also that it shows you will never sell expensive animals. Yeah. So the shows for the selling part of shows is only for like pet level animals. Yeah. So it will never happen that someone buys. If you are lucky, maybe a 1K snake, but something that's more expensive than 1K, it will not sell at the show, even at the best shows. So yeah, I usually go to the best shows, and pretty close to where I live. There's the Ham show. That's the biggest one in Europe. So it's too crowded and stuff, but still nice. I still have that passion to also look at all the animals that are there, like the frogs and stuff, and the insects.
Absolutely.
Do you have an idea, like how many people they have through the door, or how many vendors they have there?
That's a good question. There, I should know that actually.
Like, I mean, just round. Like, would you say there's
Yeah.
100 vendors, 50, 200? Like,
let me think. No, I think it should be a couple hundred. I think.
oh, cool.
It's
Definitely
very
a ham.
everyone has just like a small table, so it's very packed, and it's several buildings. So it should be a couple hundred, and people. It's also hard to say. I think they never post these numbers somewhere, but should also be quite a lot, because it's like it's huge and it's super packed. You can't even move. Yeah, so and it's super smelly and stuff. So many people don't like it because of that. But in the Netherlands, there are also some shows that are pretty good. Also one that is pretty new, where also the US people are coming, like Justin and Billy and so on. So yeah, we have some good shows, some very small local shows too, but not that many. And for like, if you want to sell a lot, the shows actually here are not the best, I would say, unless you only have pet level stuff.
How about what Zeus Serpents is saying here? You buy it and then pick it up at Ham. There's probably some higher dollars.
Yeah, sure. But I count that as an online sale. Yeah, you usually you sell them online, and then they will come there for the pickup. Yeah, that's the thing. But we don't have a shipping system here in Europe. So usually we always meet at the shows, even if you are not a seller there. You make all your sales and so on, and your pickups before, and then you exchange the animals at the shows.
And Tracy, I just wanted to say real quick, that's a great idea. We haven't ever gone like to a Northeast show, so we'll have to go that way.
Do you guys have a vendor up there that is sponsored by you, Ben, up in that Northeast area? Because that's one thing. A lot of people, like, when you go to shows, just look for the RGI banner. You'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised. A lot of vendors, not a lot, but at some shows, there'll be 2 or 3 vendors at a show that'll have that RGI banner up. And at least I try to stay very up to date on what's going on with RGI, shipping. A lot of times I'll even take in sheds if people wanted to just bring me sheds, and I'll send them in for you. I'll ship them to Sean, no big deal, because I send sheds to Sean at least monthly. So I can always just, put those in the same pack and send them off to Sean, and they make sure it gets to where they're going. We try to be able to answer as many questions about shed testing, which is another kind of great point. Sorry, I'm gonna weave out and I'll try to get right back in here, but that's another thing about getting in right now. You can leap ahead so fast right now in a lot of recessive projects with shed testing. You can go and buy a double recessive het for, like, say, a sunset puzzle. You can buy a double het sunset puzzle male, pair him to a bunch of different snakes, shed test all your females, or shed test the clutch, and then you already know what, you can make your own double het females right there, and you don't have to wait to 3 years to see what's what. Which ones are what. So there's a lot of ways to really get in and really leap ahead in projects with shed testing. I've done it. couple of years ago, I did a collab with Leviathan Snakes, and they bred their sunset male to my ultra male female, and I know they're really close on clutches to get the double visuals now, and I am the same. I have the two females I had from that pairing right now are like right at ovulation. So there's ways to really jump forward in the hobby and projects through shed testing. I know some people were like, well, it's kind of expensive. Well, it's not as expensive as buying double visuals or visuals when you can't really afford those. It's more reason, it's more cost effective to, buy a double het or pair double hets and then shed test them to know, what you have, what you don't have, or, roll the dice. It's, at least for me, it's been that way. It's been, moving forward in a lot of other projects just to, and then having that confidence in those females, the holdbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 3.5 years back when I first was able to start playing with, before we had testing available for everyone, I had some clowns that were posset pied and some pieds that were posset clown. And I was able to use testing instead of, crossing my fingers and picking a male to keep or whatever. I was able to choose a clown het pied male and a pied het clown male and breed them. And just like Prophecy Exotics and Gaming says here, they both proved out for me. I got, the posset clown male made clowns and the posset pied male made pieds. And, all of a sudden, instead of holding back 2 or 3 males or, holding one back and then finding out he's not het, like I knew I was very confident I had what I needed. And then, choosing females instead of holding back every posset or double posset that you make, hoping that you're going to get a couple. You can just test them, sell the ones that aren't, just sell them right away for exactly what they are. You can give that expectation to your customers. They know what it is or isn't. And then the ones that are what you want, being your best customer, you keep those, and you don't have to wait 3 years to find out if you pick the right ones.
But not just that, when you're buying pos hets, I mean, as long as you're buying an animal, I mean, I personally would never pay more for an animal on a pos het and I would never charge somebody more money for something that's a pos het. I would rather somebody get a bonus gene in an animal. But even if you bought an animal as a pos het, just for the fact that it might be that pos het, you shed tested, it's negative. Hopefully you got it at a good price where, okay, well, it's not going to fit that project. You can turn around and resell the animal and try again on a different one. Yeah. So that is definitely a way to go about it as well. Most pos het stuff, though, especially if it's sunset or puzzle or ultramel or something along those lines, we do shed test most of our babies just to be sure. That way we know what we're passing along to our customers, and then even on the displays at the shows, a lot of people have noticed, we have the tested by RGI stickers on the ones that have been shed tested. So, it gives people a lot more confidence too. You're like, okay, well, that's been shed tested. So, and that's the project I want. That's the animal I want. That's the one I want to get. So,
and from like an RGI standpoint, the people we do sponsor, one of the main things we really love to see is you all able to make sales. One of the most proud moments I had, Troy, was when you sent a picture after the show was over, and the majority, not all, but the majority of the ones, the containers that were empty were all the ones that had the RGI sticker on them.
I'm going to tell you what, there's been a few shows where the ones that were tested are the ones that usually sell first, because it gives, people can have the confidence that, number one, and it's not even just tested for recessives. It's to make sure that my ID is correct. And I don't care if you're Justin Kabelka or Bob Vu or me or anybody. We use our best guess from experience on what we've produced, especially when you start running more than a 2 gene combo animal. Sometimes you got to use your best guess, and nobody mis-IDs an animal on purpose that I know of. So At least we don't. And most people I know, I don't know if anybody really that would intentionally mis-ID an animal unless they're just a crook and then don't do business with them anyway. Yeah, to have confidence, it's like there's so many animals that I thought for sure, especially when I first started shed testing, that I was breeding animal A to animal B, because animal A was sold to me as this, animal B was sold to me as that. We put them together. The clutch makes no sense. I sent an RGI, and totally different genes in those snakes than what they were sold to me as. So that's happened along the way. So
one of the funniest things for me is to go back and watch clutch cutting videos. Like especially when I was newer, it's so funny because, first of all, once they're hatched out and shed all that stuff, it's still hard to get it right. But when you're doing clutch cuttings and trying to okay, this has got to be this or that, it's so funny, like how far off you are.
That's why you've never seen a clutch cutting from me ever alive, because there's way too many times. Like it would be like me going, what? Wait, huh? What is? I don't know. The classic, we'll have to wait till it comes out of the egg, and then it's, I guess we'll have to wait till it sheds.
Yeah.
So now I just wait till the shed test comes back, and then I know what it is.
There you go. Sure. So, Andy, and I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, I will do it for you. Like the Nijmegen show.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't even be able to say that unless I
that's in the Netherlands. That's one of the good. That's a good show I was talking about. So it's still pretty small, but the organizers are doing it pretty well. That they only invite like the best breeders all over Europe, and they also check that they're actually like taking good care of customers and so on. Also trying to include some variety, not just ball pythons. And that's the show where also like Justin and Miguel and so on came. And I guess if it stays like that, then it's just like once per year, and that will be the meeting point where Europeans can meet the VIP, so to say, breeders from the US. And
so how accessible is that to you in Germany? Is that pretty easy to get there?
Well, it depends where exactly you live, but I live pretty close to the border of the Netherlands. So for me, if I drive, it's maybe 2 hours or so. So it's very, very good. So and I'm planning to vend that show as well. It's not really for selling, but it's good for like showing off what you have and
So let me ask you this. So on the shows, you because you've mentioned it a couple of times, it's not real good for selling. Do you guys have like more local shows or events where other breeders come together, or people can purchase animals, or are you guys mostly just doing online sales? So how does a lot of that work, since shows are really more for showing off what you have and not so much for selling animals?
Yeah, it really depends. If you are just like a very small breeder, and small here means you really just have maybe 10 animals or so. Yeah, and then just maybe just pet level, then it's for some people it's enough to just post it on some like local lists and also like we have WhatsApp groups and stuff where you just post your let's say the cheap animals, and there they usually sell. Or for cheap animals also the shows are good, but if you want to sell a bit more expensive ones, then you have to have like Morph Market and try to have a good Instagram and so on. Sometimes if you're lucky, those also sell in some WhatsApp groups because it's mixed. There are the breeders and also like more like pet people. But the thing is that the top tier animals that I would say maybe starting from 5K or so, most of them don't sell in Europe at all. Yeah, sometimes yes, but most don't. And for that, you really have to have international connections. Yeah, those I would say starting from 10K, all of the animals sell to the US, because only the US people are so crazy, so to say, to buy such expensive.
I don't know, the market's really exploding in Japan right now too. So yeah.
Some Japanese also buying expensive animals. But the bulk, I would say, of the very expensive animals go to the US.
US. Wow.
But
Okay.
it goes also like the other way. If you want to have something very high end, then in most cases you also buy something from the US, so it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's a great question on the screen there about transporting the animals. Like, say you went to a show that maybe you jumped on the train. Now, the transportation system, for those that don't know, the transportation system in Europe, especially the trains and all that, is phenomenal. So superior to anything we have. So are there different rules for importation from, like, say you went to a show like in Austria, like just coming across the Austrian-German border, like is there, do you have to have vet certificates, stuff like that, or you can just hop on the train in Austria from a show and then bring it back to Germany, no problem? Or just hypothetical, I don't even know if what shows are around there, but so
No,
and then
actually,
shipping as well across different countries.
So open borders, it's actually very easy. If it's really the EU, it's very easy.
Right.
You can, but you always have to have paperwork for them. Yeah. So you always when you buy an animal, you always have to ask. In most cases, the breeders just give it to you, because for being able to vend at the show, they have to have paperwork for every animal they have there.
Like an CITES form or a vet certificate, or
like a in most cases not even CITES, because CITES you only need for like international, and international means like really the EU border. If you just cross open borders, then you only need like it's called certificate of origin. Yeah, that you have like the breeder information there, and then the information of the new person who bought the animal, and maybe some like background information, what are the genetics, parents, and how you should keep it, and yes, something like that. And that's enough. So nothing crazy. Everyone can print that at home and make it by himself.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. Oh, that's okay.
That's very easy.
Yeah.
With shipping, if you find like a shipping service, then it's the same. Yeah? So there are no additional paperwork required. The only problem with that is that almost there's no shipping service here. Yeah? So
does FedEx not ship animals for you guys over there?
We don't have FedEx.
Oh, okay. I thought FedEx was international. Okay.
I mean,
so how do things get around? Like, I mean, is it like just like trucking?
Yeah, we have like, let's say, regional post service. Yeah, for general things. Therefore, not for animals.
Right.
Yeah, so like there must be also some small FedEx stuff here, because like small envelopes you can get also with FedEx, but it's very uncommon. Yeah, you have to get like an international order that did it with FedEx or so. Usually you get it with like our more regional services. Yeah,
I know, like, but probably DHL might be even bigger out there. And,
I didn't want to drop those names because I thought you may not know, but exactly, DHL is
we have DHL. They're like behind. UPS is definitely the king in the United States, and FedEx is right there with them. And then DHL is more, I'd say, specialized shipping for the most part here. But I know they're way bigger globally than they are in the United States because of FedEx and UPS here.
Yeah, if you get like a package from some online store, so usually it's with DHL.
But they just won't do live animals?
No, and it's very strictly regulated. This year it got even more complicated. Like until last year we had several like animal shipping services, but those usually were only possible to ship within Germany. Maybe if you're lucky also to Austria or so, but nothing else. But this year it got more strict that only most of them lost their licenses, and only one remained, and those can only be used by people who have the reptile business, not private people. So now we have the situation that luckily I have it as a business, but you only can use the service when you are like a official business, registered and everything.
Right.
And I can also not ship to every country in the EU with that. Yeah, you will always figure out something. Usually someone from that country will come to the next show, and then you just send the animal over there. But often, like very international orders, like to the US also, are even easier to do than to some hidden country somewhere in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So
yeah.
you all have to plan ahead.
Yeah, it's I mean, once you get used to it, you manage, but often we would wish that we have something like your FedEx system where you can just drop it somewhere and then you can send it wherever you want. Yeah.
So what about like testing for, like, we have RAL and Fish Head Labs and different places here as well. Do you guys have like labs out there as well to test for like nidovirus, rhinovirus, IBD and things like that to ensure, the safety of the animals and the health and well-being?
So for shed testing, we have a different service here. He's called ProHerber. So that's the only, let's say, local thing we have here. But he has almost all the tests as well that you have. And for diseases, it also depends. Yeah, most people, I think, go to their vets, and then those will send the samples to some lab. But for people who know about it, we also have like different labs, like Laboclean, I think is an international one that you might have too. I'm not sure. But also like it's the cheaper option is to find out which universities do research on those viruses or whatever, and when you send it there, it's like 10 times cheaper and sometimes even better to test it there. And but you have to know, it's not so obvious. You have to Google or ask someone who's already experienced with it. But but it's possible to test for all the stuff somewhere.
Yeah, some of that's very similar here too. Like University of Georgia and Florida both work a lot along those lines as well. But Ben, you could probably speak more on that, knowing the academia that is more prevalent in testing for different viruses and stuff like that in animals in general, probably. So
yeah, if you happen to know, I think University of Florida for a long time, I don't know if they still do, but it seems like they had a lot of reptile disease testing, things that they were doing research on. But yeah, I mean, it is very similar. Like if there is a lab that happens to be doing research on, a reptile virus or bacteria or whatever, or fungus or any of those things, it's really good to, have a relationship with those people. And sometimes you can get, work because you're also helping them, if you're providing them with samples, that's something that, is valuable to them while they're doing that research. So that's why they can do it at a cheaper price, or even sometimes if they need a lot of samples, you might even get it done for free. So plus those people are cool and interesting to know. And, 5 or 10 years down the road, if they stay, in that reptile disease path, it might be a really good resource to have. So it's, as far as building relationships with people that will help you as a breeder, that's a very good thing to do. RAL is awesome. I don't know. I think Fish Head really only does nido, right?
I think so. RAL has like they have a panel. They have not just only nidovirus, but they have panel tests you can order. If you just want to test for nido, I think it's like $25. And then for like, let's say don't quote me on this, it's like right around $60. And then you can do a triple panel. I think it's nido, arena, and something else. I know they have like a cryptosporidium test, but inclusion body disease. I mean, they have several different tests, but there's one of them. I know I've got their forms laying around here somewhere. I can find it. But when you're buying, especially when you're investing and you have more than a couple of snakes in your collection, I don't care who you buy your snake from. If you're buying an investment animal, just you can buy a pack of the swabs, the correct ones from RAL. They'll send it to you with the order form. You just fill out
very affordable.
Yes, it's way cheaper to test that animal, to keep it in quarantine until that test comes back, then have purchased even from a really reputable breeder, and there are some out there that have had issues. It's so much cheaper than losing half your collection to nidovirus because you didn't test that animal that came in because you trusted that breeder. Whenever, I mean, it doesn't matter who I get an animal from. They come in, they go into quarantine, they get swabbed, we send it off to RAL. As soon as that clears and they clear quarantine for mites and all that, then they can come out to the building, the facility where we breed our animals. But not only that, though, we also still do not, and I'll say I don't go from adults to my baby racks. If I'm working whatever animals I'm working with that day, that's where I work. You won't see me going from my adult rack to my baby rack because you just never know. You don't want to cross contaminate. And since those diseases, as far as we know, don't cross the egg barrier, they're, as long as that, and that's why some of the bigger breeders have amazing setups where their babies will be completely separated from their adults. So they can, with 99.9% confidence, know that baby they're selling you is healthy because it's never come in contact with any potential diseased adult. Even if it is, lays dormant in that adult forever, you never catch it because you didn't test it. You can still just make sure you're never cross-contaminating, but going from adults to babies without at least washing your hands and changing your shirt or changing out gloves, as it were, in a lot of cases, especially if you're clean. But sorry, I kind of went down a little path there, but I am curious, though, if you don't mind to change subject real quick. I'm just curious, what projects you're into out there in Germany and, what you're into, what you're breeding. And a side note, my son lived in Salzburg, was going to university out there for a while in Austria. I know it's not Germany, but it's right there on the Germany borders. And he absolutely loved it. And he's talking about moving back to Germany as soon as he finishes his schooling. So anyway,
Okay, just because it's so important, I just want to say one more time that everyone who buys animals, any reptiles or even something else in reptiles, please quarantine and test for the common diseases of those animals. Yeah, for the ball python people, it's nido is the most prevalent, so please test for that. And once is not even enough. Yeah, so maybe test at least twice. The nido test is not very, let's say, reliable. So even if you get a negative result, please test one more time, maybe a month later or so. Right after getting the animal is the best time, of course, because it's the animal stressed, and then at least that's our knowledge at the moment. Then the virus is better detectable. And yeah, work sterile.
So
is that all reptile stuff?
Yes, this is all reptile stuff. These are all the tests available. At the bottom, they have the different panel tests that you can buy on there. And then on the side, so they have the RNA tests that are $25 that you can just order individually. The panel test is arenavirus, nidovirus, and the Ophidian. It's furlavirus, Ophidian param. I don't. You can say that word, Dr. Ben. I'm gonna butcher it. Paramyxovirus or something. Anyway, and we are not sponsored by RAL, people. Just so you know, this is just information that everybody should know and how to do that.
Chad does a great job. We actually I talked to Chad because Andy brought up this subject as something that he feels is pretty important. So Chad told me that it was a definite maybe that he'd pop on today, which looks like he's not going to make it, but he's got lots going on. The other really amazing thing that RAL does is you get your results the same day.
Same day. Yeah, you overnight it to them and you got the results that day.
That same day. So we've been there many times. We're, right in that area. Our Texas lab is right near there. And, we work with them a fair amount. And, they're great to work with. But yeah, that's really an amazing thing to have set up because your sample comes in around 10:30 or 11 and they'll process, run the test, have the result sent to you by like 5 p.m. that same day, Central Time. So
yeah, literally you can buy an animal. And if you have the swabs already, like in advance, if you order the swabs in advance and you have the form, and you can print the forms right off their webpage, you can just fill out that form, you write the animal's information on the back, swab that animal that you just bought that day, you know, or on Monday, swab it, and then overnight it to RAL, and you'll know if that animal's negative the day after you bought it.
yeah.
So, you know, it's a great tool to have to make sure that you're keeping your whole collection safe.
And actually, because it's so important, we are at the moment, we are setting up like we're calling it Reptile Wellcare Alliance, where some people, including me and some other like scientists and hobby people, try to build like an informative platform to just make people aware of NIDO, because actually most people don't even know that this exists. Yeah, or maybe they heard it once, but it never happens or whatever. Yeah, and then it happens too often that they infect the whole collection or something like that. And once you have it in your collection, you can never be completely sure that all the animals are clean, because NIDO is really good at hiding. Yeah, if you have like
definitely
worst situation that you have, I don't know, 100 animals, and you found out 30 of them are NIDO positive. It could be that all of them are positive, but the other 70 you cannot detect it there. So really the best is, as I said, to quarantine and test, and right after you got it, and if it's positive, to either you have it in a separate room forever, or you have to like get rid of it. And also we want to offer like tests at shows so that people can actually get the samples already there, and we work then together with some labs, and then they will have the results as soon as it's possible.
That's one of the best ideas I've heard in a long time. If that was possible, if you could literally get some kind of some kind of test run at a show.
Well, at the show we won't have the test run,
or even as far as like I could see a guy like Bob Vu doing that, just to be able to vend the Southeast Reptile Show. I can see him making random testing animals from everybody's table to make sure you're good to go to be at his show.
Instead of random drug testing, it's random bug testing.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, because he's very, very vigilant. Or he scrutinizes a lot of vendors that go vend that show. But you never did say like what projects are you in? Like what are you breeding over there?
And let me throw in here too. Just tell us really. We've got 5 minutes left, so shoot any last minute questions in. I'll throw them up on the screen. So Andy, if you can answer this question for Tracy, and then hit us with Troy's question.
So we need to repeat this, of course. There are too many questions. Okay, 2 tests within a month or so. So I would recommend the first test right after you got the animal, because it will be stressed and the virus will be detectable the best. And then a month later, I think it's good. And if you want to be sure, like many people say, for NIDO it's even the best to test 3 times or even more. So 3 months sounds pretty good. I would also, if you want to be even more sure, then you also could test the poop of the animal for parasites. That's also not a bad thing. But NIDO, I would say, is the most important, because it will spread through the collection. So
one other quick question, and then I promise we'll let you answer Troy's question. So Rich McCall, Serpents on IG, he said, do we know if NIDO passes from mom to her babies in the egg?
We're actually also planning to do an actual study for that, like a scientific study with a paper. But for now, it looks like it's not possible, even though there was in one study they said maybe it happened, but it's not clear enough. So for that we will actually do like a real study, because we know a breeder here, that has a lot of Nido in his collection. He recently figured out, but we are using his animals now for these studies. Yeah, that he will have them in a separate room, breed them, see if the eggs will be actually healthy and stuff.
Yeah.
So we will hopefully. I mean, these studies, of course, Ben, you will probably know those studies until you actually have them published will take several years.
Yeah.
But we want to at least start with that as soon as possible. Yeah. So,
Cool.
But for now, I would say no.
So yeah,
shout out to Rich McCall Serpents, man. That dude has some of the most amazing pied stuff in the country.
Yeah.
If anybody loves pied, go check out his Instagram.
And he said, cool, I have always moved eggs to completely separate building to incubate just to make sure. So
absolutely.
Probably not a bad idea. Yeah, just keep
Canada's doing that too. Yeah, he has all his hatchlings in a different building.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, we're gonna let Andy answer Troy's question. I'll just plug right here. Get your animals tested. If you're in the U.S., RAL is great. If you talk to RAL, especially if you talk directly to Chad, tell him he needs to come on the RGI show. All right, on to you, Andy.
And for like European questions, you can text me on Instagram.
Yeah.
My projects actually, I'm more like a boutique breeder. Yeah, so I don't have like hundreds of animals. But my favorite project from the start was clown, and combined that with hypo. Yeah, because I really love clown for the pattern. But the bad thing is that they brown out pretty much, and hypo is, in my opinion, one of the best genes to like battle that. Yeah, so for that, then you have like super nice, colorful clowns, like with orange cream and so on, super orange, and then within the cool clown pattern that almost everyone likes. So hypo clown is my strongest and favorite project, and last year I also started to plug in sunset into that. So I want to make sunset hypo clowns. Pretty excited about that. With the power of shed testing, I could move on with that pretty quickly. Now I already have like hypos double head for both 1.2.
Nice.
So I think I should have the double visuals not too far in the future. The triples.
Great project.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think Steven still loves sunset more than me. He's the sunset lover.
Yes, he is.
True, but I like it also a lot. Yeah, I just could never afford it really. Once it was too expensive, but now I could just plug it in like that.
Oh yeah, Steven and Courtney are the reason I'm in the sunset. Like, they're the ones that really changed my mind about sunset. So I'm so glad they did. So big shout out to them. They're some of our very, very good friends. We absolutely love Steve and Courtney.
Yeah.
So
I'm a fan too.
yeah, they're so awesome. Great people. So
and then also like I started with a DG puzzle as well now, because puzzle is like a very different direction to play with the pattern. Yeah, and something interesting that also Ben was talking on some other episode is the interaction with cryptic. Yeah, that they are not allelic, but somehow they interact with each other. So I just like 2 days ago, so I had my clutch of where I can hatch DGs that are double head puzzle and cryptic. So let's see if those have also this visual effect already when those are double head. So yeah, this project I just started, so it's not my strongest yet. Hypo clown will always be, but yeah, I think puzzle can give you like very different roads, where you can play with some pattern alternating genes, and it will look very different from what we see.
Yeah, there's some great new like puzzle combos that have come out that I've seen even recently. Matter of fact, at one of the last shows, Matt at KMB had some amazing puzzle combos on his table. Just wow. Other people as well, like Jason Kittinger had some amazing puzzles on his table. Matter of fact, he had quite a few, like I'm pretty sure they were OD or maybe even high OD, hypo puzzles on his table. Oh my God, they were phenomenal, Jason Kittinger.
Yeah, hypo's great with puzzle too.
Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see like maybe some OD hypo puzzle sunsets. Probably would be amazing.
Yeah.
So because the sunset puzzle turned out unbelievable that Brock Wagner's produced. That snake was jaw-droppingly nice. And then we know the Ultramel sunset looks fantastic too. So, but anyway, but
well,
yeah, man,
nice possibilities.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. That I mean, you're working a couple of projects that I'm heavily into too. So that's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we better wrap up. We're over an hour. I've been trying to be better about keeping it closer. Instead of being an hour and 15 or 20, we're only an hour and 10. So that's progress, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So just real quick, Troy, we've had you do this before, but go ahead and let people know where to find you. And then Andy, same thing. What the best places to find you all?
So everybody who's watching this on Instagram, just go to Balls and Strikes with the and symbol not spelled out, Balls and Strikes _ pythons. You can check us out there. I'm on there probably several times a day, even if I'm not posting on there. We do have a Facebook page. I'm trying to get better about being on Facebook. I'm not on the Balls and Strikes Facebook page very often. We do have a small TikTok channel. Not really too much on anything on YouTube yet, but for the most part, Instagram's the best way to get a hold of us and see what we're working on. We do a lot of sales right off our Instagram page, just people who will see an animal that we've hatched and will message me. Matter of fact, I got a message while we've been on here about the animal I posted today. So yeah, we get a lot of messages on there. A lot of former customers know to really keep an eye on our Instagram page, and if they see something they want, that's the best time. As soon as that goes up, if they see it, they'll reach out. So
cool.
So that's where to get a hold of us and find us. So thanks for that, Dr. Ben. Yeah. Appreciate it.
How about you, Andy?
You can find me at all places, I would say, except for TikTok. I'm not started with that, but so Saltering Serpentines, like it's on my screen here. Best, I would say, is also Instagram. I'm pretty active there, at least trying to be. YouTube, I'm also doing a bit. This year, I've posted my first video. But yeah, gotta start.
You're ahead of me on that, then.
Yeah. Morph Market, I have 2 for like inquiries. Facebook as well. I think I'm in most of ball python related Facebook groups, so you might see some posts from me also there. So yeah, but if you want to really get in touch and chat with me, just text me on Instagram, and I promise I will reply to all the messages.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we do have a morph market as well. I don't know if we only have. I don't even think we have 5 snakes on there right now. I do need to update that. Matter of fact, it's something I'll work on probably later today or tomorrow to update all the animals we have on there, since we don't have another show till middle of June, and then the next one's not till August. So, but great point. Thanks for that, Andy, for that reminder.
So. You're welcome.
Right on. Well, thanks again for coming on, and we'll have to have you both come on again. This is a good, at least a time that works for both of you, at least some of the time. A lot of people are stuck at work right now in the US anyway, but we'll have to have you come back on, and if I can actually get Chad to come on, we'll have you all come and talk with him too. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, he's super nice. I've spoken to him on the phone a couple times. Super nice guy, very knowledgeable. So I'd look forward to that one.
And people can watch the replay and post the hashtag replay gang in there.
Yes,
right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks all of you for joining us, and we will be back Tuesday night with the episode and live again next Thursday. See y'all later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.